Here's the scene where after the main character abandoned the male lead, after promising the male lead he would sit down and eat the male lead's cooking, he disappeared off to, take care of the white moonlight, get the white moonlight food, and when the white moonlight got sick from the food, he went and took care of the white moonlight until he realized, oh wait, I already promised the male lead to eat with him and eat his cooking and go pick him up from the prison cell that he was in, that we were both in. But no, I chose white moonlight over him. And this is what he's thinking after realizing the meat in the jar was what was left of the cooking because it sat there so long, most of it had disappeared. Were you waiting for me this whole time, so haven't even eaten yet? The jar of soup is all meat. Is it because you waited for me so long that all the soup boiled off and there was only meat left? Is that was put in the jar? Only to have me think that you already eaten and just left some for me, that you cooked it wrong and turned chicken soup into chicken stew? Main character put the clay jar down wordlessly. He had realized too late there was hardly any meat left. Malid finally spoke. His voice was still calm and even a bit youthfulness. You said you would be back for dinner, so I waited, he said slowly, tonelessly. If you don't want it anymore, then at least send word, so I'm not waiting like an idiot, okay? Malid is still facing away, refusing to look at him. The main character couldn't see his expression. Have someone pass me a message that you're going to keep the white moonlight, that you're going to keep, the white moonlight company instead. Would it have been that hard? Main character could not reply. You took my jar and rambled so much about eating, but you didn't even ask if I'd eaten yet. Would that have been so hard? Main character had no reply. Would it have been so hard to check and see me how many drumsticks were in the jar first? Last one sounded a little funny, even though all his remorse. Main character could only smile, but his dimples froze because they had even formed. Before they could even form, his little shindy, if I'm pronouncing it right, was crying. Melly never would have cried over such a minor thing in his adult form. No one had realized that although being turned into a child by the willow sap hadn't affected his mind that much, there had been some impact after all. His temperament became more childish whenever he was tired and overexerted himself. This hidden property of the sap was extremely difficult to detect, so neither the sack leader's wife or the healer Peak Lord had noticed it when taking his pulse. I also feel hungry and sadness. I'm human too. Even with that, the younger mentality in the foreground of his mind, Melly still clung to his self-restraint, fighting back his sobs without a sound, but his shoulders shook uncontrollably as tears welled and fell in his reddened eyes. All those years, the Melly had always endured silently. No one liked him, no one kept him company, and he always feigned nonchalance. As he walked through the reverent crowd, lofty and composed, only with his mind tinged by childish thoughts, and he broke down, speak with the truth, and let it misery had built up within him. It wasn't that he didn't care those around him, only that he did it quietly, which such gratitude day after day, without anyone to see or notice, was also kind of torment. As the main character watched a minute shivering as his little shinty soldiers, his heart clenched and he reached out to soothe him, and his hand slapped away before it made contact. Shinty, don't touch me. The Malid always put up a strong front. Regardless of his age, he firmly wiped away his tears and said, I'm going to bed and you can go keep the moonlight company. Just stay away from me. This entire scene had me bawling, wanting to cry and scream and slap the main character around. Dude, you literally is so obsessed with the white moonlight. I know it's technically the flower inside you making you do this. Because if you didn't have that flower controlling you and you didn't have the misunderstandings of the, Malid, you'd been all over the Malid. You had been taking care of him, even the child version, and you wouldn't have put a literal teenager over what you think is a child. You wouldn't have put a little child behind a grown-ass teenager. This is really sad. If the Malid was actually this child and had been a child, this was horrible. Even just the Malid is already a horrible situation, but knowing that this could have been a real child and the main character chose a grown-up teenager who seems, for some reason, can't take care of himself, yet the main character always goes, oh, but he takes care of so many people. I'm like, how can you take care of people when you can't take care of yourself? Also, he keeps using you to get money, you know, that peaks equivalent of money, because for some reason he can't do it himself. And for some reason he can feed himself, so he had to use you to get food. Think, dude, that's kind of suspicious and wrong. So yeah, it's kind of sad. It's really, really sad that he was like, oh, the child can cook for himself, the child can feed himself, but I'm gonna go feed a teenager who for some reason can't get food for himself, can't go down to an area, collect feathers, because that all he needs to do is go collect some feathers and come back and get this food that way. Really? Really? And then he got himself sick, and you had to stay there and take care of him when you still had to go pick up a child? Like, dude, what is wrong with you? But yeah, this makes me really sad, because it makes me realize the male lead truly had no one that really truly cared for him. Yeah, he has the main character's uncle and aunt. They both seem to really care for him, but still, he truly has no one. He has had no one to truly care for him. And the person he's absolutely in love with literally chose his white moonlight over him. Let him sit there and starve. Like, I would not trust, after this, I would not trust the main character around children. Okay? Especially if he has the white moonlight coming around, because you know he would abandon those children, an actual real child, for the white moonlight, and it's kind of sick. I mean, look at the story he told the male lead. I know old fairy tales were exactly like the story he told the male lead, but still. Like, no one trust him around a kid, please.